May this video be the beacon that lights your way, offering insights and direction for your journey.
If you are capable of causing depression to yourself, I'm saying this not without any concern for your illness or not due to lack of compassion, because that is the nature of what's happening to you. If you're causing depression to yourself, you are able to generate substantial amount of intense emotions and thoughts, but in the wrong direction. If you don't have very strong emotions, very intense thoughts about something, you cannot get depressed. It is just that you are generating thoughts and emotion which work against you, not for you. So you are strong enough to cause depression to yourself because for you to cause a mental illness for yourself, unless you're pathologically ill, which is just a small number of people, rest are all self-created. Most of them are self-created. A few are pathologically ill, they cannot help it. It just comes from within because of genetic and other factors. Almost everybody here, if we train them towards a certain kind of thought process and emotion and push them a little bit with the outside situations, almost everybody will go lose their mental balance. They will become clinically ill. They can be driven to madness, I'm saying, because the line between sanity and insanity is very thin. People keep pushing it. You get angry, you're pushing the line. It's a thin line. In fact, when you get angry, you know you're pushing the line. That's why the expression, "I was mad at somebody." You're not mad at somebody, you're just going mad. You cannot be mad at somebody. You're just pushing your sanity, the boundaries of sanity, and moving into insanity for a certain period of time and coming back. You do one thing every day, you try this, 10 minutes a day, try intense anger on somebody. You will see in 3 months' time, you will be clinically there. Yes. Just try it if you want. Because if you keep pushing the line, you go mad and you come back, you go mad and you come back, one day you're not able to come back, that's all. One day you're not able to turn back, then you're clinically ill. You must understand, even if you got angry for a moment, you're already ill. Maybe you don't get the certificate of diagnosis. They don't slap a certificate on you that you're gone, but you are going, isn't it? You think it's your right to throw tantrums, you think it's your right to get angry with people, you think it's your privilege to be depressed so that you'll get attention from somebody. You keep playing this, one day you will not be able to turn back. Keep crossing the line every day, one day you will see you cannot cross back. That day, you need a doctor. Till then, everybody needed a respite from you. But the day you can't cross back, they get the respite because now they can catch you and give you to a doctor. Otherwise, you're temporarily going mad every day, many times a day. They cannot even send you to an asylum, they have to bear with you, your family, your friends, your people around. If you get at least truly clinically ill, we can hand you over. There's one temple in Tamil Nadu, where they chain you and keep you. Where there is no hospital, no psychological for ailments, there's no hospital. There is a temple that somebody created which is supposed to push people back into sanity. So, families just take them and leave them there, they're shackled and left in the temple. You give them some money, they'll feed you, and you're just there like an animal, tied up. I think if hospitals were run like this, a lot of people wouldn't go crazy. They would maintain their sanity. Right now it's too deluxe. If you make hospital extremely comfortable, it'll become an incentive to become sick. And you have incentives in your life to become ill, right from your childhood. You got the maximum attention only when you fell ill. When you are happy, they screamed at you. When you squealed in joy, they screamed back at you, adults. You… then boo-boo, 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 boo-boo. When you are a child, physical illness is good. Because you'll get attention from your mother and father and everybody around you, and you don't have to go to school on that day. So you learn the art of falling physically ill. But once you get married, you learn the art of becoming mentally ill. Because if you want to get attention, you go sit in a corner, act depressed, people will pay attention to you. So, you keep playing this game, one day you're not able to cross the line back. That day, you're clinically ill. Unfortunately, in many ways, not just in the way that I said now, in many different ways, I would say 70% of illnesses on the planet, all kinds, are self-created. Even if you get an infection, there is a way. If you keep yourself in a certain way, physically and mentally, the virus and the bacteria will not work the same way as it works upon somebody else. If you set yourself like this, no matter what's happening, anyway, I have to go and do this, this and this, there's no break from that. The last 29 years, I have not been able to cancel one program because I'm running temperature, I got a cold, I got this, I got that. It doesn't matter what's happening, what you have to do, you anyway have to do. You can't turn back on that. Either out of your commitment or you have a boss like that. One way or the other, if it happens, then you will see, you will not at all fall sick so often. Because if you have temperature, you still have to go. If it's summer, you still go, right? Now, a lot of people don't go. It's a little hot outside, they don't go and work. Little cold outside, they don't go and work. A little raining, they won't go and work. A snowflake, they will not go and work. This is just weather. So for every change in weather, if you have the comfort of covering yourself in a blanket and lying down, once you create that, your body will learn to fall sick as often as possible. If you just keep it this way, it doesn't matter what it is, anyway I have to go and do what I have to do, you will see your body will just bounce back as quickly as possible, even if it gets the worst kind of infections. So, you just have to set the necessary conditions for health, necessary incentives for health, both for yourself and your children if you have them. Do not set incentives for sickness. The child is sick, observe him from a distance, never go cuddle him. He knows That's the worst time of his life. And he knows he has to get well soon. And give him the best attention when he is joyful. You will see he naturally learns from within. His very chemistry will learn that it pays to be joyful, it doesn't pay to be sick. If you make this very clear to your own biology, to your own chemistry and to everybody around you, you will see people will not fall sick as often as they are right now. So set that up for yourself. You will see you will get healthy. If you can turn your mind this way, you can also turn it this way. I want you to understand this. No, I'm like this because my father abused me when I was 7 years of age. If you know all that bullshit, you can as well turn yourself around, isn't it? Time. You must understand, mentally, physiologically, chemically, energy-wise, you must clearly understand it doesn't pay to be sick, unhappy, depressed. It doesn't pay. To be joyful and ecstatic, it pays. If you make this clear to all these people inside, they will all behave properly. This happened in Los Angeles. A cardiac surgeon drove his… he was little fascinated with this Ford Mustang. That was his car, and he was little excited about it, and one day it started coughing a little bit. So he took it to the local mechanic and said, "Some problem, please fix it." He said, "Yeah, doc, come tomorrow morning, it'll be ready." The doctor, before going to work tomorrow morning, he went there, but it was not ready. So he said, "Okay, come in the evening, it'll be ready." He came in the evening, it was not ready. He said, "What's the matter? You said morning, I came. You said evening, I came, what is the issue?" And the mechanic was in that kind of mood, he said, "See, you're a heart surgeon, you also fix engines, I also fix engines. How come you're paid 10 times more than me?" So the doctor looked at him and said, "Try to fix the engine when it's running, let me see." So human life and human body needs to be fixed when it's running, otherwise it's meaningless. All right, you're going to postmortem what's the point of that? We need to fix this body when it's running. If you want to fix this body when it's running, you must understand, because we're talking about something related to digestive process. These are the stages of this: ingestion, putting something inside; digestion, assimilation, excretion. These are 4 dimensions of food and the whole process. Ingestion, digestion, assimilation, excretion. Ingestion is happening in today's world just about any time, wherever they are, sitting, standing, any time of the day or night, people just eat because there's so much food. It was not like this ever in the history of humanity. But unfortunately, fortunately there is a lot of food. Unfortunately, people don't know when to eat, when not to eat. As there are cycles in time, see, we know time only by cycles. If the planet spins one like this, one spin, we say it's a day. Otherwise you wouldn't know. If the moon goes around, we say 1 month. If we go around the sun, then we say 1 year. So our idea of time is essentially cycles. Our birth and death is also a question of cycles. Only because our mothers' bodies were in sync with the cycles of the moon, we are even born, otherwise we wouldn't be born. So our whole physical existence is cyclical. The entire spiritual process, we could go into that if you wish, essentially is significant because it's not cyclical. Because cyclical means you're going in circles. If I say you're going in circles, what does it imply?
You're in a loop.
You're not getting anywhere.
Yeah.
Usually if I leave you in desert where here there are some mountains, if there are no features, it's just sand, then people end up going in circles. That means you're not getting anywhere, that means you're lost. So the moment you are completely identified with your body and your psychological structure, you will start going in cycle. So in India, in the yogic culture, it's very, very clear, this is called as samsara, that means cyclical life. So cyclical life, as good a merry-go-round it may be, if you arrange it well, it's a good merry-go-round, but you're not getting anywhere. Children can enjoy a merry-go-round. If all the adults are sitting in the merry-go-round and going round and round thinking they're traveling, oh, very tragic, isn't it? So that's what happens. So the body is a cycle. These cycles are very connected with the planetary cycles, with the moon cycle, with the sun cycle, everything. Lunar cycle, solar cycles and the earth cycles are very important for the body. If one has the necessary awareness, they could observe on which day your body doesn't need food. Every other creature knows this. Unfortunately, human beings have forgotten because their thought process or their silly mind has superimposed every other sense they have in their system. If you observe your system, you will see on a particular day, you don't feel like eating. That day you should not eat. But no, you're at your friend's house, there is a party, you stuff yourself, even if your body says no, you stuff yourself. You see all the animals, even if you have a dog at home, on a certain day he refuses to eat, both dogs and cats. Have you noticed this? He will go and eat some blades of grass if it's available and puke and cleanses himself because he's conscious that ingestion is continuously happening, but digestion and excretion is not as efficient as ingestion. Ingestion is happening compulsively, but other parts need to work. Other dimensions of digestive process needs to work. When we say digestion, digestion happens in the whole alimentary canal, not just in the stomach. And assimilation also happens across the entire alimentary canal. Now, excretion doesn't happen only through the alimentary canal, excretion needs to happen on the cellular level also. Impurities gather over a period of time and you become dense both in body and head. If you don't cleanse yourself, then it'll pile up over a period of time. We call this karma, because when it piles up, it determines the way you think, feel, understand and experience life. People may not realize this, but they will think, this is how I am, this is my nature. This is not your nature, this is the way you messed yourself, all right? So this cleansing process, one important thing is to give a break for ingestion. Because other systems are largely involuntarily, you can stimulate them, but they're involuntary, they're functioning. Ingestion is a voluntary process, though unfortunately for most people it's become compulsive. It should be a voluntary process, that is, I eat when I want to eat. When I decide I want to eat, I will eat. My hand doesn't decide when to eat. If there's anything, people are doing this all the time.
I relate.
I think if we leave a bunch of good chocolates around you, your hand will eat, not you. So ingestion should be a conscious process. To bring this consciousness, there are many methods. One is fasting. Simply denying yourself food and water could cause damage to the system. You must support it with the necessary practices. If you have the necessary practices, the need for food will come down. See, our energies are not coming only from the food that we eat. The sunlight, the air, the water, actually, if you… in the yogic sciences, we say, if you really keep your system well, 60 to 70% of your energy should come from these three factors: sunlight, air, water. Another 40% should come from the food that you eat. So naturally, amount of volume of food that you eat will compress. I must tell you about myself. When I was young, I'm a big eater. I never became big because my activity was immense. But today what I eat is actually 1/10 or less than 1/10 of what I used to eat at that time. From the age of 19 till now, I'm still the same weight, what I was at 19. Only thing is, at that time, all the weight was on my shoulders. Now because of this gravity continuously working on me, kind of pulled it down a little bit. But I kept myself up. So fasting as a process must be done with necessary understanding. If people don't have that awareness, in India we fixed the 11th day of the moon cycle, you must fast. If you're not able to fast, you go on something very light, it's called palhar. That means you go on fruit diet. Because fruit is a substance which is over 90% water, and you must eat water, not drink water. This is the yogic science. As far as possible, you eat water. You always be conscious about the food that you're eating, what is the water content. Like a South Indian meal, if you eat, a cooked meal I'm talking about, if you eat, very easily 60–70% water. In fact, more. In some of the foods, it's much more. But now the food that you're eating here, you're eating bread, which was baked a month ago probably. Is that minimum? Even in so-called organic shops, it's at least a month or at least a week. Nobody is going and getting fresh bread and come, and anyway, the way the bread is baked, it doesn't have water in it, very, very little water. So of course you're compensating that with a bucket of Coca-Cola or something like that. Right?
Yeah.
I said a bucket, not a
bucket
glass.
is actually a good amount of Coca-Cola.
It's this big.
Yeah.
But that doesn't work like that. If you drink any liquid along with your food, the acids that are necessary for digestive process will get diluted. Your whole digestive process gets inefficient. Because food, when it goes in, if it contains water, it assists. But if you put any liquid on top of it, you will see the food will remain in the stomach bag for too long. We are very concerned about this always in the yogic culture and life, that we don't want food to remain in our stomach bag for more than 2.5 hours maximum. In 2.5 hours' time, it doesn't matter what I've eaten, how much I've eaten, it must go into other parts. If it remains there, it makes you dull. It makes you lose your sense of perception. The level of perception, the keenness of perception is lost, which you notice if you eat food without Coke or coffee or tea or anything, you feel dull. It kind of pulls you down. Whole lot of people have developed a culture around it, after lunch they have to sleep. It's like you went to the gas station, you fueled up, then you can't start the engine because there is gas in the tank. So that's what it means. So, to ensure that digestive system is in full process, because for most of the chronic ailments that people are suffering today in the world, the headquarters is in the stomach. Yes. For a lot of people, it's shifting to their head, but largely headquarters is in the stomach, the way… what they eat and the way they eat. So in this way they eat, one simple thing to bring discipline is, maybe 1 or 2 days in a month, you go on much lighter foods which are very simple and easy on the body. If you can just thrive on water or just a little bit of lemon and water or little lightly honey-laced water, it will help, but if it's not possible for you, maybe a fruit or something, which is very, very light on the system. The idea is to give digestive process and assimilation process a break so that rest of the body begins to excrete on the cellular level, it must throw out all the impurities.
Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudevji, Mr. Francis Curry, Director General, World Intellectual Property Organization, Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, Chief Scientist, World Health Organization, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to welcome you all to this event to celebrate the 5th UN International Day of Yoga. At this prestigious venue, the very first designed to be a platform to bring the world together in a spirit of cooperation and inclusion to address issues facing mankind. It was 100 years ago that the League of Nations was conceived, and these very premises were meant to host it. In 2014, the initiative of the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, himself a dedicated and long-standing practitioner of yoga, to have 21st June declared as an International Day of Yoga won the overwhelming endorsement of the international community. As the relevant UN General Assembly resolution notes, yoga provides a holistic approach to health and well-being, and that the wider dissemination of information about the benefits of practicing yoga would be beneficial for the health of the world population. Traditionally, we have celebrated International Yoga Day by practicing the asanas or physical postures contained in the common yoga protocol, which was developed by the Government of India in consultation with leading yoga experts and institutions in India. However, this year, we thought of broadening the approach to exploring the many other dimensions of yoga beyond the physical that are particularly relevant to the issues that the different stakeholders in International Geneva seek to address, those of global health and sustainable development, as well as peace and disarmament. Our engagement on these issues requires us all to work in a spirit of cooperation and compromise, making sure that no one is left behind. However, this spirit of inclusion at the international level cannot come about if it is not reflected in our individual lives and approaches. It is here that we can harness the power of yoga, the very essence of which is union both within and without. Hence the theme, Yoga, the Power of Inclusiveness. The Permanent Mission of India to the UN in Geneva is grateful that Sadhguru, India's leading yogi, mystic, and one of the 50 most influential persons in India, who has been conferred the country's second highest civilian award in 2017, consented to engage in this conversation on yoga. We could not have found two more distinguished personalities to engage with Sadhguru than Mr. Francis Gurry, who is not only the head of WIPO, but also an avid practitioner of yoga for over 3 decades, and Dr. Soumya Swaminathan, who brings her extensive global health perspective and expertise to the conversation as the chief scientist of the World Health Organization, where traditional knowledge and complementary medicine are seeing renewed focus. As an emergent India plays a greater role on the world stage, it is with a positive intent and determination to contribute to the betterment of mankind. Yoga is one such contribution by India for the better health and greater happiness of people all over the world. Yoga has now truly become the intellectual property of mankind. I wish to thank you all for coming here today to be part of the 2019 International Day of Yoga celebrations, and hope you enjoy the conversation on yoga, the power of inclusiveness. Thank you very much.
युगरतोवा भोगरतोवा संगरतोवा संगविहीनः यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तम् यस्य ब्रह्मणि रमते चित्तम् नन्दति नन्दति नन्दते वा नन्दति नन्दति नन्दते वा. Good evening to everyone. Well, I think the meaning has been put up there. The important thing is, people think yoga means I must be like a rubber band. Yoga does not demand any particular condition. Wherever you are, there is a next step in yoga. Whatever kind of person you are, whatever kind of mental, physical, emotional states you are, there is a next step from where you are. That's what yoga is about. The chant is just to acknowledge that. Thank you. Ma.
Thank you very much, Sadhguru. It's a great honor and privilege.
This is okay, microphone.
Thank you. I was wondering where the mic was and I thought there was some magic here.
You need a beard for that.
That's right. So it's indeed a great honor and privilege to be in conversation with you, Sadhguru. I would like to start with the theme of inclusiveness, since that's what the Yoga Day is about, and the theme, as our ambassador pointed out, and the Prime Minister in his message also talked about all the benefits that can come from practicing yoga. You know, science has shown that all human beings are basically the same. We share 99.9% of our DNA. So if a genome, the genes that make up our body, the DNA, if it were a book, then every person's book would contain the same paragraphs and chapters arranged in the same order. And each book would tell the same story. But my book may contain a spelling, a slightly different spelling on page 130 of the word color from your book. Or my book might have a typing error on one page, just one letter misspelt. So that's what science tells us. But we see
A misspelled word is enough to fight about. Is enough reason to fight.
Exactly. So if we spell color with O-U-R or color with O-R, you know, it's a difference between the two sides of the Atlantic. But what we're seeing increasingly is the world being divided on the basis of ethnicity, of race, of religion, of color, of belief, of sexual orientation, disabilities. Some of this is conscious, some of this is not conscious. We see large number of people on the move now, refugees and migrants who have had to leave their homes and are living in camps for many months or years together. So when we talk about diversity, very often, you know, organizationally we think only about gender diversity, ethnic diversity. But don't you think that the real diversity the world must tackle is the fragmentation of knowledge to solve the problems that we have today, and the fragmentation of ethical belief systems to guide our moral choices? We see inequalities and inequities increasing. You mentioned that we live in a world today where for the first time there is enough for everybody, and yet there are large numbers of people who don't have the very basic needs. If inclusiveness is the very basis of spirituality, how can we enable communities, especially our young people, to grow up with the belief of inclusiveness and the fact that diversity is important and we have to respect everybody in the community and provide everybody equal opportunities? Can yoga show us the way?
We are inclusive not by choice. We are inclusive by the nature of our existence. Every day, we are in this process every moment of our life by eating, drinking, breathing and many other things. We are showing that we are inclusive. If we resist this, we will cease to exist. It's only by constant transaction with just about anything and everything that we are existing here. The complexity of what makes this creation, we are a consequence of that. But the magnanimity of creation has given us an individual experience. It's a tremendous thing. Though we are just a speck in the universe, still we have an individual experience. We sit here and experience like we're individuals. This is a phenomenal magnanimity from creation. But we've taken this individual experience rather too seriously. So seriously that we think we are a world by ourselves, each person. When your personal universe does not work very well, you will gather 10 people and then there is a battle. Endlessly it's going on. When we are 2 people, we will quarrel. When we are 10 people, we will fight. When we are 1,000,000 people, we have a war. It's the same thing. The mechanics is the same thing. Because we have taken our individual experience of life rather too seriously. In this cosmic space, this solar system itself is a speck, a tiny speck. In that tiny speck, planet Earth is a micro speck. In that micro speck, Geneva is a super micro speck. In that, you're a big man. Fortunately, ladies don't like to be referred to as big, so it's only one part of the population. A man wants to be a big man. So, this whole thing has happened to us simply because the boundaries of your individuality, you have taken it too seriously. If you pay on the surface, you're you, I'm me, 100%. This is my body, that's your body. No way to mix this up. This is my mind, that's your mind. Here and there, our minds may overlap, but anyway, this is my mind, that's your mind. But there is no such thing as my life and your life. The life that we are, this is a living cosmos. You captured some, I captured some. Now, what yoga means is, the boundaries that we have drawn with the instrument of body and mind, you consciously obliterate, so that when you sit here, your experience of life is not contained just to the limitations of your body or your thinking process or your emotional process. Your ability to experience life as a life, not as a body. Because if you experience this life as a body, this is me, that is you, there is no way to mix this. If you go as a mind or a thought process, this is me, that is you, no way to mix it up. But if you go as a life, fundamental life process, there is no distinction between this and that, not just between 2 human beings, between everything and everything, there is no distinction. So the word yoga means union, that you consciously obliterated the boundaries of your individuality. That is why you know a sense of union. We are anyway in union with the existence. The problem is, it's not in our experience because we are too caught up with our individual experience. The basis of your individual experience is a very flimsy thing, in the sense, right now, if you… Can we experiment with you? Hello? Take your right hand and touch your left hand and see. Is that you? Hello? Is that you? Touch the chair on which you're sitting, is that you? No. How do you know this? How do you know this is me, this is not me? Sensation, isn't it? Here there is sensation, here there is no sensation. So the way you are identifying what is me and what is not me is just that where there is your sensation, it's me. Where there is no sensation, it's not you. Right now there's a glass of water here, is that you? No. If you drink it, does it become you? What is it that you did? All you did was, you included this into the boundaries of your sensation. Isn't that the way you have grown? Hello? Isn't that the way you have grown? What was not you yesterday, has it become you today? So, anything that is within the boundaries of your sensation is experienced as myself. What yoga means is, you stretch the boundaries of your sensations. As there is a physical body, there is a sensory body. If your sensory body expands, Let us say your sensory body became as large as this hall, then you will experience all these people as a part of yourself. As you experience the 5 fingers as yourself, you will experience all these people as yourself. Even for a moment, if you experience all these people as a part of yourself, after that, do I have to teach you morals, ethics, be good to this person, don't kill this person, don't harm this person? Would you need teachings? I'm asking you. This is what yoga means. It is not a teaching, it is not a philosophy, it is not an ideology, it is a technology of obliterating the boundaries of your individuality, because your individual nature is your psychological pattern that you have created. Nothing else says you're individual. If you don't understand what I'm saying, keep your mouth closed, hold your nose for 2 minutes, you will know you're not an individual.
I think what you say makes a lot of sense. And yet, it's very intuitive the way you explain it, but it's not part of our educational system, it's not part of the thought process. More and more people are growing up in urban environments, far away from nature, far away from the experiences you need to feel one with the environment. And so we have to, I think, consciously promote this thought, and particularly I think for decision makers and policy makers, it's really important to have this philosophy. When they think about making a policy, what impact is it going to have? Not just on yourself or your neighbors, but on the wider community, on the water, on the land, on the forest, on the air. Unless we start thinking about each and every policy like that, I don't think we can appreciate really this oneness of being that you described.
See, if you take something as a value or a philosophy or an ideology, this will work when you and me sit on separate chairs like this. Suppose there is little space, 5 of us have to sit on the same chair, that's when the trouble begins, okay? You got your big chair, I got my big chair, no problem. But if 3-4 of us have to sit on that chair, now trouble begins. Well, you can have philosophies, love everybody. Can you? I'm asking you genuinely, please tell me. You will love selectively, isn't it? Love thy neighbor. Can you love your nasty neighbor? You will not, okay? It is nice to say these things because it helps to cool you a little bit. But when life puts you to test, it won't last. You've seen it again and again. You said it is not the nature of our education, 100%, that's where the problem is. The real problem is in the way we are educating our generations of people. The question is not about what, it is the way we are doing it. Right now, our education system is 100% dependent upon human intellect. We are treating intellect as the only dimension of intelligence existing in this human being. If I ask you a simple question, you must answer this question because I'm going to bless you. Do you want your intellect sharp or blunt? Okay. Those of you who didn't say anything, blessed. So I'll give you one more chance. Sharp or blunt? Sharp, for sure. Intellect should be sharp. Why? Because it's a cutting instrument. It's like a knife, it's like a scalpel. The sharper it is, the better it is. A knife is a good cutting instrument. If you want to dissect something, you need a razor-sharp knife. It's good to have it. But now you want to sew your clothes, but you do it with your knife. You will be in tatters. That's all that's happening to the world. Tell me, who is messing up the world, educated people or uneducated people? Hello? Educated people, because this is the nature of their education. They think they can fix everything with their intellect. they are not even acknowledging other dimensions of intelligence which exist in your system. When I say other dimensions of intelligence, there are… in yoga, we look at human mind as 16 dimensions. Let's not go there, it's a long thing. Simply, to come very simply to this, if you eat… it's mango season, though I am in Geneva, I can talk mangoes, right? Okay. Suppose you eat a mango, whether you're a man, woman or a cow or a goat, it goes into you and becomes who you are, isn't it? Hello? Mango doesn't look like you, taste like you, feel like you, but it goes into you and becomes like you in you. If you're a woman, it becomes a woman, if you're a man, it becomes a man, if you're a cow, it becomes a cow, if you're a goat, it becomes a goat. Very smart mango, you think? Hello? No, there is an intelligence here. In this one, whatever comes here, it knows it has to be made into this. If I take a mango in my hand and make it into a human being, who would you think I am? Very creator, isn't it? So the very source of creation is functioning within you. The problem with us is, we've been taught all kinds of things. Somebody said those who are deprived of love in their life, that they could not love anybody around them or nobody around them loved them, they said God is love. Somebody who's fallen under desperate conditions, they said God is compassion. But if you don't assume anything, if you are looking at creation, because you can only see the creation, you have never seen the creator, all right? If you look at the creation, if you look at a flower, if you look at a leaf, if you look at a blade of grass, intelligence, 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 isn't it? Phenomenal intelligence, yes or no? But nobody said God is intelligence. If you had said this one thing, we would have a much smarter world today. Because creation is the highest level of intelligence you have seen. You're just one little product of that, isn't it so? Hello? With all your brains, you still not figured out one atom in its entirety. We know how to use it, we know how to break it, we know how to fuse it, but we don't know what it is. Because the basis of creation is a phenomenal intelligence, beyond anything that you can imagine. So if creation is such intelligence, the source of creation must be a fantastic dimension of intelligence. But we said all kinds of things to manage social situations. But if you really pay attention to your own system, the way it is working, is it working because of you? Hello? Can you operate your kidneys, I'm asking? Can you make your liver go better? No. It is not happening because of you, it's happening in spite of you. Yes or no? There's a tremendous intelligence here. How come you think you can never access that? How come you think you can only function from the little bit of memory that you have gathered in the name of education, and you can only use that little bit of memory? Let's understand this. Because in the next 5–10 years, artificial intelligence is going to come big time. People who read 10 books became scholars. People who read one book became religious. People who read 1,000 books suddenly became so many things. By memory, isn't it? We are misunderstanding memory to be intelligence. This is the biggest mistake humanity has made. Memory is like this, my memory is my memory, your memory is your memory, isn't it? Isn't this the boundary? Hello? Isn't this the boundary? That my memory is like this, your memory is like that. This is the boundary. We have misunderstood memory as intelligence. So we are all become small islands of our own. We are identified with our knowledge. Whatever knowledge you have, if you have read the libraries on this planet, still compared to this cosmos, you are a minuscule knowledge, yes or no? Hello? Because many of you are doctor, I'm asking. I'm not trying to insult you, but is it not minuscule compared to the nature of this cosmos, of what's happening here? If you identify with your knowledge, you become that minuscule. Now you have your own world, I have my own world, but our ignorance is boundless. If you identify with your ignorance, we are all together. This is what yoga means. We are always identified with our ignorance, because our ignorance is limitless and our ignorance is seamless. Our ignorance does not separate you and me, because what I do not know, if you see I do not know, your intelligence is constantly alert. The moment you think I know, your intelligence sleeps. If you want to do an experiment, if I ask you to walk from there to there, you will walk, maybe being self-conscious, everybody's watching you. But if I turn off all the lights and make this pitch dark, if I ask you to walk from here to there, you become super alert, isn't it? Hello? Because the power of ignorance, you don't know where the next step is, suddenly everything in you is alert. This is the way you're supposed to live. But the moment you gather a certain amount of memory and identify with that, you sleep through your life. In India, the word that is used for enlightenment is always awakening. When you're already awake, how to awaken you? Because everybody is not awake to the same extent. You can become awake in various levels and dimensions. So the idea is to be fully awake because your wakefulness is your life. Hello? If you're asleep, would you know that you're alive? Your wakefulness is your life. How awake is how rich and inclusive your life is. Right now, the problem is just this, we are identified with our own little memory pools. So every one of us is a world by ourselves.
I would like to take the theme of technology and artificial intelligence you mentioned a little further. See, previous industrial revolutions have liberated humankind from animal power, it has made mass production possible, and it has brought digital capabilities to billions of people. But the fourth industrial revolution, everyone believes is fundamentally different, because it is characterized by a range of new technologies that is able to cross the boundaries between the physical, the digital, and the biological worlds. And this impacts, therefore, all disciplines. It impacts our day-to-day life, it impacts economies, industries, and it has even started challenging us about what it means to be human. We have these mega computers that are able to beat humans at different tasks. So the resulting shifts and disruptions mean that we live in a time of great promise, but also great peril. The world has the potential to connect billions of more people to digital networks. We can dramatically improve the efficiency of organizations and even manage assets, our natural assets, in a way perhaps that we can minimize environmental damage or even try to repair some of the damage that we have done. But if organizations are unable to adapt, if governments fail to regulate new technologies and to capture them for their benefits, if shifting power creates new security concerns, then inequalities may grow and societies get further fragmented. And perhaps what we could perhaps call a digital divide might then start, one more divide that might start dividing societies. In fact, the WHO has been looking very seriously at this issue, and we're looking into not just the new technologies and the public health benefits, but what the potential risks could be, especially what are the ethical, social, moral, legal implications of new technologies like artificial intelligence, gene editing, gene-drive mosquitoes, and so on. So really the central question is, how can technologies enable a meaningful future for humankind? And what role should humans play in an increasingly machine-dominated world? How can values and ethics become part of the technological development process?
You know, I remember this situation probably in '70s, when in the Mumbai docks, which is called as the Mazagon docks, they installed the first gantry. and all the labor, the coolies who were there went on strike protesting. It was a major strike. Because till then, the vessels which came were unloaded by men carrying sacks out. Those days, most of the vessels were of a capacity of 25 to 30,000 tons were the largest vessels. Today, most vessels are over 100,000 and even 250,000 tons kind of vessels. So they were taking anywhere between 26 to 28 days to unload one ship. And they went on strike because what are we supposed to do? What do we do with our muscle? That's a question. So man's muscle became irrelevant because the machine came. To all the ladies, I want you to understand, all of you are here today not because there's been a serious evolution in human consciousness, simply because of technology, that man's muscle does not determine how big or small you are. If muscle determined who should rule this place, still situations would be still the same. So from muscle to machine we shifted. Now again a time is coming, people who have a certain amount of memory, which they call as education, scholarship or religiosity or whatever, they're all feeling threatened. The strange thing is, they're inviting me to all kinds of artificial intelligence conferences. Say, why are you inviting me? I'm not artificial. They're saying, no, but if this comes, what'll happen? We lose our jobs. I said, that's fantastic. If all of you lose your jobs, it's fantastic. Because even when I went to school, I just thought, somebody just read a book a few years ahead of me. How come they're acting so superior? They just read a book ahead of me, a few years ahead, that's all. If I had come 15, 20 years ahead, I would have also read the damn book. So just by holding some memory in your mind, we've been acting big, just like muscular people were acting big at one time. They were the kings. If you had big muscles, you became a king at one time. Today, we will put you out there at the gate. So the same thing will happen now in a different way. Your memory will be of no value. It's a great time, because today my phone has 600 GB memory, it can do 10 PhDs a day. It has enough knowledge to do its own thing. So these days are coming, this is fantastic. Why do we fear technology? See, death is a social thing. It is not existentially right to say death, because a certain life, like we were talking about bubbles as an analogy, let's continue that bubble. So right now you've blown that big bubble. This bubble has a material, the soap. Depending upon the soap quality, the tenacity of the bubble and how long it lasts is determined by the type of soap and the quality of soap and whatever. So this soap or this structure for this is what we are traditionally referring to as karma. What karma means is accumulated memory which is giving us a shape and a form. So as long as this karmic memory is there, it will contain this life inside. So right now, let's say you were born as this big bubble, but this time around you really made some efforts and made this into this big bubble, possible. So suppose now, let me not take you as an example, let's say I die, okay? It's easy for me to die So if I die right now, well, I leave the body here because the body is just what we have collected from this planet, it has to go back. It's just a material that you picked up to walk through this planet, to do activity in this planet, but the life that you are is still contained in your karmic bubble. Life itself is not yours. That we are referring to as consciousness or life is not yours, it is always there, but you have captured this much. Depending upon how much life you capture, see, it is not just about the data, it's not about the intelligence. Depending upon how much life you capture,
accordingly the significance of your life will be determined by that. When I say significance, you as a life, not socially significant, not significant in the world, that is just a consequence. In certain times, people may recognize that significance, in another time they may not recognize. If you came here 1,000 years ago and you say, I'm a neurologist, they'll just dismiss you, can you wield a sword or not? That's all they would ask you in Brussels, all right? If you cannot, you're out. So I'm saying today in 21st century, you being a neurologist is important because there is a situation, it's a consequence of time. So let's not take that activity as the basis. But the profoundness of your experience is determined by how much life you have captured, how significant you feel when you sit here, not in the context of society, not with reference to somebody else, not comparing myself to somebody and saying I'm bigger than somebody. But when you simply sit here, this is why closing eyes is so important. When you close your eyes, you shut off the world. When you sit here, what is the significance of your existence? This is determined by how much life you capture. So the entire yogic system, or one important dimension of yogic system, is to see how I capture more life into this one, so that if I sit here, this is a very significant life. Whether others will understand the significance, whether the significance will find expression in the world or not, these are subject to variety of outside realities. But in your experience, you are phenomenally significant because you captured such an immense possibility of life. So once this happens, now it is held together by this karmic bubble, or let us say, it's a kind of a software. Most of the software may be gathered unconsciously, but it is a certain kind of software which holds this together. Even if we die, the body gets left here, discerning mind goes with the body, rest of the information, and this is already there. But now because there is no discerning mind, this bubble cannot go where it wants to go. Now, it will just go by its tendencies. It's very beautifully described. In the yogic culture, we call these tendencies as vasanas. The word vasana literally means smell. So it depends what kind of smell it has. Accordingly, it gets drawn to certain things, accordingly it will draw certain things towards itself, depending upon how vibrant this karma is, accordingly it stays in a limbo for that kind of period. If it is already become very feeble, it will try to find another form, physical form. If it is not become feeble, it exists by itself for a certain period of time. When I say period of time, when we are in the body, see right now, for you to know how long we've been sitting here, you don't have to look at your watch. You just ask your lower back, it will tell you how long you've been sitting here. Or you ask your urinary bladder, it'll tell you how long you've been sitting here. So body is keeping time. Time is a concern for us only because we have a physical body. If we did not have a physical body, we can sit here for 10,000 years, there's no problem. So once you don't have a physical body, the time-space experience is not the same, but still the experience of being pleasant or unpleasant is still there. There's a whole dimension to this. I think Bala, you must send Stephen the death book. I just published a book on death, it's been an 8-year work and it's just come out, and I'll ask Bala to send it to you, or we can send it from UK probably.
Thank you.
Stephen, so couple of questions to Sadhguru, right? So what determines…
I hope I have not said something very unscientific that keeps you…
Oh, yes you did, oh yes you did.
That was the idea.
That's why I'm here.
That was the idea.
What determines how much life you capture, Sadhguru?
One thing is, you must have enough software, that means you must have enough karma. So most of the time, people are trying to avoid karma. When I say avoid karma, people are trying to minimize their imprints in life in so many ways as to what they take in. Suppose, let's say I don't like you, Bala, that's not a fact, I'm just telling you as an example. Suppose I really don't like you, I just can't stand you. So what will I do? I will avoid you. This means what? I'm trying to avoid some nasty impressions that may come upon me if I meet you. Now you're avoiding karmic material. So this is why in yoga we say, Somebody comes and says, I don't like this person, then I put those two people in the same department, so that every day they build some karma and learn to transcend that. This is not a social process. There is an internal process to this, that you're taking in imprints, but not reacting to it. Because your experience becomes beautiful or nasty depending upon how you react to it. So first and most fundamental training that you need to go through is, you learn to respond, not react. Reaction is instinctive. Reaction is based on past memory and conclusions that we have made. Response is happening out of your conscious response right now. So you learn to respond, not react. Once you learn to respond and not react, you will take a tremendous amount of material because you have no hesitation about anything for that matter. Once you have so much karmic substance, now you can blow a big bubble. You need good soap to make a big bubble, not air. There's no dearth for air, there's a whole bubble of atmosphere out here. But what you need is a certain tenacious soap which will blow a big bubble for you. Otherwise, if you have no, I don't want to name any brand, some brand came to my mind. If you have a bad soap, only this big bubble will come. If you try to make this, it'll go put. So if you want to blow a big bubble, what is needed is not air, because air is anyway there. At least in the context of who we are, it is a limitless amount of air. It is not really limitless, but still it is limitless from the context of our lungs at least, it's quite limitless. So there is limitless amount of air, there is limitless amount of life and consciousness in the universe, but the question is, do you have the necessary quality soap to blow it big and hold it? So, you don't avoid anything when something outside of you does not determine the nature of your experience, that is when you're willing to take on everything. When something outside of you makes you either happy or unhappy, you will try to choose only those things which give you pleasant experiences, those things which give you unpleasant experiences you will try to shun. So if you really look at in the world, most people, if you look at people's experiences in the world, most people can't stand almost the entire humanity. Their neighbor means must stop there only. Friend means still here, but he must stop here. If he crosses this line, there'll be trouble. Well, a spouse means here. If they cross that, there'll be trouble. A child means here, but if he crosses that, that also will be trouble. I'm saying for everybody there is a boundary. If they cross that boundary, there is trouble. So in a way, if you really look at it, actually nobody is 100% okay with anybody. So this is the fundamental thing we need to change. People are trying to teach this in roundabout ways, they're saying you must love everybody, you tried, it doesn't work. People say you must be compassionate, be this, be that. All you're trying to do is that you are not in a state of reaction, but you will consciously respond. Or in other words, you want to make your experience of life so pleasant within yourself, no matter who comes, how nasty they are, it will not cause nasty experiences within you. Once you have this insurance that somebody else and something else, either a person or a situation, cannot soar the experience of who you are, only then you're truly open to every kind of experience. Now you have a super soap. You can blow a very big bubble.
But can I ask something?
Yes, sir.
Is that… so you would advise somehow that meditation can help us blow a bigger bubble?
See, once again, this is a very vague term in English language. When you say meditation, if somebody sits here with eyes closed, in English language we say, he's meditating. But with eyes closed, we can do many things. We can do japa, tapa, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, shunya, samyama. Or you may just, as you know, in the universities, they have mastered the art of sleeping in vertical postures. No, not in your class, no. So they may be horizontal in your programs.
So it's true that then it becomes… the term meditation becomes kind of meaningless, is what you say, because it stands for…
It is not specific, it's generally saying something. So, let us say you're chanting something. People say that's also meditation. No, that's called japa. Japa, if you do it in another form, the same chanting, it's called tapa, because tapa is used to generate heat in the body. What you were talking about Tibetan monks, most of them are doing tapa because they're using it in a certain way to generate heat in the system, because if you generate a certain kind of prana or life energy in a certain form which is called as samat prana, if you generate that, body generates enormous amount of heat. And this heat is not just as temperature, it's called ushna. It activates a certain level of perception, it makes you very healthy, it'll allow you to live with very minimal amount of food and water. All these capabilities will come because your samat prana or samana prana is high. That is what generally they are trying to do, they are trying to do tapa. So that is… you want to call that meditation? No, it is tapa. If you do the same thing with a different tilt to it, it becomes japa. If you do dharana, that means you're focused on something, you're concentrating on something, that's called dharana. So if there is you and there is something else, an object, and you're very well focused and you and the object are connected, that means it is dharana. So you were so focused, one of you disappeared, either you disappeared or the object of focus disappeared. It is either just the object or just you, it is merged into one in your experience. Then we call this dhyana. Suppose both disappeared, the observer and that which is observed both disappeared and there's an explosion of energy, this we called as dhyana. Samadhi is called something else and… that is called samadhi. And further samyama, there are various other aspects like this, so I don't want to go into all that stuff. But fundamentally, the word meditation is not saying anything particular. So if we have to put a definition to that, what I would say is, meditation is a certain quality, it is not an act. It is not an act that you perform. It's like fragrance of a flower. The fragrance is a consequence, but because today the world humanity has become so goal-oriented, they want the consequence. They're always aiming towards the consequence. No, you cannot create the consequence. If you do the process properly, consequence happens. Right now, we have eaten well, we are breathing and everything is fine, so life is happening. In a way, our experience of life is a consequence. We are alive because of a consequence of various processes that we are doing right. If you do any of those things wrong, the consequence of experience of life will not be there. So similarly, meditation is a consequence, it is a quality, it cannot be done, but it can be made to happen. If you cultivate your body, if you cultivate your thought process, if you cultivate your emotion and your energies to a certain level of maturity, you become meditative. It is not like in the morning, evening you do meditate, not like that. You become meditative as a quality, you carry it with you. So, if we want to further technically define this, essentially I would say, because I'm assuming meditation means dhyana, it is an assumption, because somewhere you have to fix it, otherwise it is all over the place. If you call it as dhyana, that means if you sit here, in your experience clearly, the body is here, your mind is here, what is you is somewhere else. These three clear, distinct identities. That means there is a distinct separation or space between what is you and what you have gathered in your life. Once this space is there, this is the end of suffering. Because there are only two kinds of suffering in human life, physical suffering and mental suffering. Once there is a distance between you and the body, between you and the mind, this is the end of suffering. Once there is no fear of suffering, that is when you will naturally access what we are referring to as consciousness or chitta, because now you have no fear of suffering. Once there is no fear of suffering, you are willing to climb any peak. It's only the fear of suffering which curtails a human being. Once this possibility of suffering is taken away from you, you would also like to go and see how hell looks, what hell looks like.
because anyway you cannot suffer. Actually, Gautama said this. When people were all talking about going to heaven, attaining to this, he said, you say in heaven everything is wonderful, what will I do there? In hell everybody is suffering, let me go there and see what I can do, because anyway I cannot suffer. So once there is no fear of suffering, you walk full stride in your life. Otherwise, no matter how adventurous people think they are only half a step all the time, because the fear of suffering is always lurking in their minds.
And Sadhguru, do you think that the patients I see in my consultation who are suffering, they have migraine, headaches, anxiety, depression, that they could benefit from meditation, and as now is very popular in Western countries, this mindfulness techniques?
They're already suffering because their minds are too full. They need to come to some sense of abandon, you know. So, each person may be in different level of development, it's not like a general prescription I can make. But becoming meditative, will it help? Absolutely. But can you make them meditative in a clinic? I doubt that, because you can't suddenly make them meditative. Some people may be ready for it and it may happen. But can you make everybody meditative? A doctor can make somebody meditative with just a few instructions? No, because it will need a certain amount of induction. They have all the ingredients for it to happen, but still it doesn't happen because there's no induction. So there needs to be some charge for them to, get into that place. Somebody may be ready for japa, somebody may be ready for tapa, somebody may be ready for dhyana, dharana. This is an evaluation that has to be made for each individual. If suppose I met somebody, they are 20 years of age, I may teach them something. The same person, he practiced for 3-4 years, he was feeling great and then he gave it up for whatever reasons. Now at 40 years of age he comes, now I will teach him something totally different because he's not the same person anymore. He may think he is the same person, but he is not the same person anymore because everything has changed. His perception, his experiences, his accumulations, everything have changed. So accordingly, one has to do this. This has always been the traditional significance of having a live guru so that he will mix the right cocktail for you, otherwise there's no punch.
Thank you. I will go do my yoga.
Don't tell me now.
This has been a very fascinating discussion. I can go on and on. I have so many burning questions, but I think it's been more than an hour and a half. So I'd like to wrap up. At least one thing I'd like to see you, Stephen, do is at least bring into discussion about using the term wakefulness as a way of different levels of wakefulness in your practice and in neurology world, and then leave consciousness out completely. And that way probably you can explain so many things in your lab and what you're finding and how you have been successful in restoring some of the comatose patients back to their normal lives. So thank you so much for doing your work and also being open to explore this aspect with Sadhguru and us. It's just, there's so much more. He's an ocean by himself.
As your lab machines improve, one day you may be able to raise the dead, huh? Because it's just another level of wakefulness and sleep.
Like my favorite philosopher says, James Bond, never say never.
I didn't think you're English, huh?
Married to a Canadian psychologist.
After the Brexit, you must change your philosopher, okay?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Bala, thank you very much. The color of the clothes or the colors of anything around you, does it have some impact? You need to understand this. How color happens, first of all. Why seems to be white right now is because when the light falls on it, it reflects all of it, so it looks white. Why this seems to be red right now
is not because it's red, it is just that it holds back all the colors and only reflects red. That's why you're seeing red. And what is red for you may not be red for some other creature. If you dress up really jazzy colors and go and stand in front of your dog, he looks at you in an uninterested way because he doesn't see any color, he sees everything black and white. Do you know this? Don't dress up for him, okay? Dog lovers, I'm saying. You wear only black and white, dog lovers. Nothing else works. You don't impress him with red, green, blue and whatever. So color is not what it is, color is what it gives away. What you reflect will be your color, what you hold will not be your color. This is the nature of life, not just of color. This is the nature of life itself. Today, if you radiate love, people will see you as a loving human being. If you hold back all your love because you have a love bank, you're full of love but you don't radiate, people will think you're that. If you radiate joy, people will think, oh, he's a joyful person. If you are a joy bank, you held back all your joy because you want to take it to heaven. People won't experience you as a joyful human being, isn't it? What you give away is always your quality, isn't it so? So that is not just for a human being, that is the nature of the existence itself. What is thrown away is the quality of that substance. Now this reflects everything, so this is white. That reflects only red, so it is red. That reflects only blue, so it is blue. Everything else is held back. What it holds back, you don't see. What it gives away is what you see. So, how is color significant for human consciousness as such, or for any kind of spiritual process? It is significant in the sense that the color that you reflect will naturally add to the aura that you carry. People on the ascetic path don't want to wear anything because they don't want to add any new things to them. They just want to work with what they have, they don't want to take on anything more. What you are right now, to work that out is quite substantial. Adding one more thing and one more thing, it complicates. So they don't want anything, they walk naked. If socially walking naked is difficult, they will put on one little loincloth, so that socially there is no issue. But the idea is, they don't want to take on anything more than what they are. They know what they are is substantial. There are other aspects to it, that's different. I'm saying about the color. So orange, the chakras in the body, all the 114 chakras, or rather 112 chakras ascribe to some color. The two do not ascribe to any color because they are not physical in nature. Anything that's physical in the existence naturally reflects light. Do you understand what I'm saying? Anything that's physical in the existence reflects light. Once it reflects light, it will have color in your perception. It may not have any particular color, or it may not have the color that you're seeing. You are only seeing what's being reflected. What you're seeing is the reflected light. You are not seeing the color of the substance that you're seeing. You are not seeing color of the thing that you're seeing. You're only seeing the color of the reflected light. Black reflects nothing, it holds back everything, so it becomes black. You see, we say the grass is green. No, the grass is not green. It is giving away green, so we see it as green. The sky is blue. No, no, no. Sky is not blue. You go there and see, there is no blue out there. Sky is blue for a completely different reason. Because the refraction quality of the color blue is different from the other colors, that's why the sky is blue. So why is it that spiritual processes, for different types of processes, we use different kind of colors is those who are on a path where they don't want to gather anything, they will wear white. Those who are into a different kind of sadhana, if their sadhana is mild, but they're on the spiritual path, but they're involved with various aspects of life, they don't want to gather life around them. They want to be participating in life, but they don't want to gather anything. Such people will choose to wear white. People who are on a more intense sadhana, which is oriented towards a particular chakra in the body, which is known as agna, between the eyebrows, they will wear orange. Because the color of the chakra is orange. They want to radiate that color because the whole process is about enlightenment and reaching to that state of knowing. Opening up that dimension of perception, which is referred to as the third eye, so they will seek always ochre or orange color, because that is the color of the agna. The yellow robes were worn by Buddhist monks because the process that Gautama gave to the initial stage of Buddhist monks was very rudimentary process. He chose this process for the people because he did not need any preparation, but he wants to cause a wave of awareness. That means he doesn't stay in any town for more than a day. Continuously he is moving from village to village, town to town. There's no time to prepare people for any kind of practice. So the practice that he gives them is very rudimentary, but still he is converting them into monks. He's fixing their life, but not giving them enough preparatory steps. So he told them to wear the yellow robe, because yellow is the color of the Mooladhara. The most basic chakra in the body is Mooladhara. So he wants them to be stable. For a monk, the most important thing is he practices stability in his life. So he just wants them to be stable. They don't have to fly off into a blissful experience, they don't have to get enlightened right now, they don't have to get anywhere. They just have to learn to be stable because he is preparing soldiers to shake the world with awareness. So he told them to wear yellow robes. Later on, when they graduated to what he called as arhats, the arhats in the Buddhist tradition wore ochre robes, that is orange, as all the Indian sannyasis wear. But then after Gautama passed away, when they tried to spread the Buddhist way of life, people in India, there were at least 30% of the population were sannyasis or monks by nature. By culture, it was just like that. So this one more set of monks, they just accepted them and they became kind of part of them. They couldn't maintain a distinct identity. So from ochre, they shifted to a little more maroonish color, more for an identity's sake, because they would simply mix with all the other yogis and monks who were walking all over the place. So they wanted to set up a distinct identity, so they switched to a little maroonish color later on. But the basic Buddhist color is still yellow, because yellow is the color of the Mooladhara and it can be taught without preparation. No preparation, no teaching, no nothing, a simple process, just to stabilize and stabilize and stabilize. Such a process is taught when you are charting out a spiritual path for a few lifetimes.
See, that tradition still continues in the Buddhist way of life. They keep coming back and coming back to do more work and more work because the process is such, it's of stabilization, not of realization. So that's why the yellow. Devi is always red because red is the most vibrant color. Of all the colors, red is the most vibrant color and feminine represents that. Whether you like it or not, there is a longing in a woman to be like a flower. Because nature has given that possibility for her. There is a certain quality in the feminine which is flowery. So, when we say flower, the first thing that comes into most people's mind is always red. A red flower is always the real flower. Other things are on the way. Red is vibrant. It is the color of vibrance. Devi, or the feminine form of the divine, is the most vibrant form of divine. Something nobody can miss. The reason why, even if there are other bigger temples, in every village, in every town in India, we will set up a Devi temple. You walk into the Devi temple, she hits you in the face, you can't miss it because it's vibrant. The color of vibrance is always red. It doesn't matter what kind of a person you are, if you come dressed in full red clothes, suddenly people will think you're vibrant, even if you are not. Yes or no? Red dress suddenly sets you off like you're vibrant. And to do certain type of sadhana, which is Devi-oriented, red is needed. The most important things in your life are usually red, you know. Your blood is red. Not red enough, you go down, you know. Flowers are red, the rising sun can become reaching towards red. Anything that you consider as vibrantly alive, you tend to paint it red because there is a connection between red and vibrance. And Devi is manifestation of vibrance that you cannot miss. So, the Devi temples always have very active involvement of red. In many ways, only red flowers are used. Blood is spilled all over the place. We don't do the blood business, but one way or the other, it needs a lot of spilling of life. Either you must know how to spill your life just like that without killing yourself. If you do not know the technology, you have to kill. We know the technology, so we don't kill. Somebody else who do not know the technology of spilling life without killing the body, they will cut the body. Most Devi temples have daily sacrifice. So colors have some impact. It definitely influences a few things, but it's not everything.
You once mentioned that a large population in the world is not healthy, which they could be, simply because we have not understood some simple things. And these simple things can be very easily taught and disseminated in the world and shared with rest of the people. Can you throw some more light on what these simple things are which can make us healthier?
Healthy? Oh. There was a young physician once. He went to his senior colleague and said he had some problem with a certain diagnosis of a patient. Then the senior colleague said, "Oh, nerves and vomiting, is it? Yes, but I don't find any medical reason for him to be having nerves and vomiting." So the senior colleague suggested, you ask him if he is playing golf.
If he's playing, you tell him to stop. If he says, I'm not playing, ask him to play. He'll become okay. Health is like that. Really. Some people are overworked and they have ill health. Most people are underworked and they have ill health today. If you lived here on this planet 200 years ago, physically, you would be doing at least 20 times more activity than what you're doing right now, physically. Definitely, isn't it? You would have walked to this place, you would have done everything with your hands. You would be doing minimum 20 times more activity. I think I'm wrong, 100 times probably. Some of you 250 times. So if you were doing that much activity, then I would have told you, take a break, take some rest. Now, the body has not been used. Only by using this body you can keep it well. When you say health, you're talking about physical health. You must use this body. The more you use it, the better it gets. One of the simplest things about health is just to use the body. If you sufficiently use the body has everything to create health for itself. Does it mean to say, that's the only thing, nothing else will happen to me, I'll be perfect? I would say, if we physically used our body as much as we should, I would say 80% of the ailments on this planet would just disappear. 80%. The remaining 20%, in that, another 10% is because of the type of foods that people are eating. They change the food habit, another 10% would disappear. That means only 10% ailment would remain. That has happened because of variety of reasons. One is karmic, another could be atmospheric, and there are other aspects that could have happened in the system which can be looked at. Out of all the sick people, if 90% of them become healthy just by using the body and eating the right food, 10% could be easily handled. But now, the volume of ailment is so big because we don't eat properly or we eat very properly and we don't use the body properly. So, apart from this, there are other aspects to life. To put it very simply, as you exercise your body, if you just do this 1,000 times a day, just do like this 1,000 times a day, and after 1 month, just see how well your hand will work. Nothing else, just sit here and just do this 1,000 times a day. After 30 days, you'll find your hand works wonderfully well. If you do that with your brains, it will work wonderfully well in a month's time. If you do this with your heart, it'll work wonderfully well. If you do that with your life energies, it will work wonderfully well. When all these things work well, that's health. Health is not something that you invent. Health is not your idea. Health is life happening well. The life process is happening well, that's health. It's not your idea or my idea. We are acting as if health is our idea, as if we created health. We didn't create health. If at all we have created health, if at all we have created anything, we have created ill health. We have not created health. Health is life's way. If you allow life to function fully, it is healthy. So, you just have to use your body, use your head, and use your energies. If these three things are well exercised and balanced, you will be healthy. So, because right now we are enjoying the gadgets, but if you build activity into your life, physical, mental and energy, all these things if you build in, health will come. Your body is working well, your mind is working well, and your energy is supporting the two, making sure nothing goes wrong, that's health. Life is happening in full flow, that's health. Health is not an idea, it is not a medical idea. The medical fraternity and the medical knowledge has become more and more essential because we have built in very unhealthy lifestyles. Never before in the world, medicine had the kind of importance as it is having today. Simply because we are becoming more and more sedentary, so we are becoming more and more unhealthy. We are living longer, maybe, that's because of excessive attention and, you can live on tubes for 20 years. Otherwise, nature has its own way of, natural selection. You know what that means? Yes, the life that is fit, which will be selected to live, that is not fit, which goes on. Today we've made life in a different way. Not that we can go back to those old ways anymore, we cannot. But that doesn't mean we have to become 60 when we're 20. A lot of 20-year-olds today cannot perform as much activity as 60-year-olds used to do 100 years ago. It's a fact, isn't it so? 100 years ago, what a 60-year-old person was doing, physical activity, that much activity a 20-year-old cannot do it today. That means we're just weakening humanity. A degenerate humanity we will become over a period of time. So, you must use it.
We appreciate you being part of this incredible journey. Keep exploring our channel for more inspiration and transformative insights.